Senator Cassidy, for joining us to kick this off. For those of you that have registered for the webinar that don't know a lot about the BRF, we're a catalyst for positive economic change in North Louisiana. Been around since about 1986, and we're all about building a knowledge-based economy and innovation in North Louisiana. I'm going to jump to some slides here real quick. Can they see the slide? Yeah. All right. First of all, I want to thank Senator Cassidy for kicking this off for us. He was here in Shreveport about a month ago. We updated him on the Entrepreneurial Acceleration Program and what we're doing. Senator Cassidy is from Baton Rouge. He is a medical doctor, went to LSU, went to the LSU Medical School. He is an entrepreneur. He's run a successful practice in Baton Rouge. He's been an educator. He's also been a researcher, led research activities while he was at LSU. And he currently serves on several key committees for the people of Louisiana. He's on the Senate Committee on Energy and Natural Resources, the Senate Committee on Appropriations, the Committee for Veteran Affairs, the Senate Joint Committee on Economic Development, and the Senate Committee on Health, Education, and Labor and Pensions. Senator Cassidy, thank you, and we're going to turn it over to you for the intro.
Hey, David, thank you very much. You know, David used the term knowledge-based economy, and I've just been focused on that. How does Louisiana diversify our economy? We fly when oil and gas is doing well. We're strong when agriculture is strong, but when, for whatever reason, prices in those commodities fall, our state hurts. Now, if you can look at other states which have diversified their economy, they've done it by investing in what Dave has called the knowledge-based economy. And as it turns out, Louisiana has that potential, but that potential has been incompletely realized. So the purpose of this webinar, if you will, is hopefully y'all plug into the economic development program that can help small businesses grow, and as your small business grows, you create jobs. Now, implicit in that is a lot of things. We bring wealth to the state of Louisiana, not for the sake of wealth, but when there is wealth, typically states do better. So what do? One thing that we've seen work is public-private partnerships in which a company with government funding, perhaps administered by a dedicated economic development organization, offering free business development services, somehow comes together and ignites and just begins to create this kind of critical mass of those interested. And from that critical mass, other things happen. So the Entrepreneurial Accelerator Program based in Shreveport is such a committed, not-for-profit economic development organization which is tasked specifically to grow the economy of North Louisiana. The EAP, if you will, the Entrepreneurial Accelerator Program, has parish and state funds, and what we're hoping for is federal grants. And my goal as a senator representing Louisiana, with knowing that our future is dependent upon your success, is to grow the amount of federal grants you and our state receive. So, and the resources, they help provide that free assistance to small businesses to become profitable, to hire those. Again, Dave Smith runs the EAP, and he'll explain this more in detail later in the webinar. And the Caddo EAP, if you will, or the EAP based in Caddo, has already been successful. Since 2014, Dave and his group have helped small businesses become profitable and create 76 jobs with an estimated impact of $7 million. Now, the EAP wants to continue its work in Caddo and expand its services to small businesses in all 29 parishes of North Louisiana. Today's webinar, you'll hear about the number of services the EAP provides small businesses, and with a new needed source of federal grant funding for the Department of Commerce. The services will be determined by your needs, designed to help your company grow, but examples are mentoring, business plan development, technology development, marketing assistance. The EAP needs your input to secure these federal funds, and again, this will be explained later in the webinar. My hope is that this webinar is good for you. You learn something, and that working together, we come up with an ability to grow your business, the local economy, and create jobs in North Louisiana. And by the way, in so doing, create better services for people in the country and across the world. Thanks for your time. Best of luck to you all. Dave, I'll turn it back to you. Dave Smith, the Executive Director of the Entrepreneurial Accelerator Program based in Shreveport. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Senator Cassidy. We appreciate you and appreciate what you're doing for us here in Louisiana. And we're going to go through this, and we're going to ask all the participants to provide input, and we'll make sure that we get this input back to you so that you can see where the needs are going forward.
Hey, man, because I am in constant contact with people at NIH, National Science Foundation, other federal agencies as to how can we bring more resources to Louisiana, how do we prepare Louisiana better to compete for those resources. Again, that's everybody on this webinar, so please give that back to me and I'll channel it to those folks I am speaking with.
Thank you, sir. We greatly appreciate your service. Okay, the purpose of our webinar is really all about what the BRF and EAP can do for the businesses that are going to participate in the webinar, and then go, and you'll find out a lot about the survey. We talked a little bit about that survey. You're going to find out a lot about that because we're going to go out and pursue a grant opportunity focused on economic development that will be provided to your business at no cost. We want to take about 40 minutes for the webinar, and we want to leave a little bit of time at the end of the webinar for you to submit your questions. There is a function in there. Julie Gilly is one of the analysts here at EAP. She's with me right here. She's going to help me collect all the questions. So there is a question function. If you got a question, we'll try to get to it at the end. Now, the BRF has entered into a partnership with a professional firm in Washington, D.C., McAllister and Quinn, and they're going to be part of this seminar. They're very successful in identifying and helping organizations like the BRF find and successfully win grant opportunities. So I'm very happy to have McAllister and Quinn as part of this. Participating today will be Chris Fish, the Vice President of McAllister and Quinn. He's going to have a speaking part, as well as Dr. Jessica Venable. She's the Executive Director for Research, University, and Institutional Practice. So you'll be hearing from them, and I'll introduce them when we get to their part. So what is the BRF? I think it's important I start with an introduction to the BRF and EAP so you have some understanding of who we are and what we do. And we are a not-for-profit organization. We are headquartered in Shreveport, Louisiana, and we're also in Monroe, Louisiana. The BRF is really made up of 7 major business units, and I'm going to quickly run through them real quick. The first one is the Center for Molecular Imaging and Therapy here in Shreveport. We call them CMIT, and they are responsible for developing advanced, what I would call radiopharmaceuticals. They do a lot of research in that area. They also run an imaging center here, and they've been successful in winning some NIH research opportunities here that all is performed in Shreveport. Second division is our Intertech Science Park. It's about an 800-acre science park here in Shreveport on Kings Highway. All of it is right around the LSU Health Science Center. And we're all about developing a science park here. We currently have 6 buildings in that science park where technology-based and innovation-based companies can get space and get a reasonable opportunity in very technical areas. We have a lot of lab space in there. And that's really a challenge for the science-based companies is affordable lab space. Next is our Ed Ventures, and that's our science, technology, engineering, and math program focused around high schools. We have over 150 high school students that are in that program, and it's all focused on STEM education. Most people probably know us for our hospitals at University Health System. We operate the hospital that the LSU Medical Centers practice medicine in here in Shreveport and Monroe. We have the Digital Media Institute. They're a digital media workforce development organization, and there's an advanced program that produces a trained digital media workforce that's ready to go in less than a year. One of our newest offices is the Office of Research and Development. They're all about clinicals, and that's research that can be performed in a hospital with patients. We want to support the LSU Health Science Centers in their research efforts and drawing clinical activities to those hospitals. And then lastly is the Entrepreneurial Acceleration Program. Now, EAP got started in 2014, and our goal was to be a one-stop service shop for startups and small businesses in Caddo Parish. And myself and 4 other financial analysts and business analysts are in EAP, and we do everything from build business plans to pitch decks to management plans, market plans, financial projections. We'll help startups, again, at no cost because of that public-private partnership that we've set up with the City of Shreveport and Caddo Parish Commission. We're able to provide those services. And, you know, the BRF might be in a lot of biomedical spaces. We in EAP are all sciences, all industries, all opportunities. And in our short 2.5-year history, we've actually sat down and talked to over 330 startup companies that had ideas here in Louisiana that they want to get started. Of those, about 216 met the requirements of being in Caddo Parish and having some type of unique offering and intellectual property. Of those, about 113 we were actually able to work with and help them build product to get started. And like I said, we built all types of products for them. As part of that, what we found was there were really 3 paths that small businesses in Louisiana could pursue. They could go the investment path, which is get in front of an investment group. They could bank it. Some of them had been successful, operational for 3 years, had an incredible record of success, and they went straight to banks, and the local banks were happy to be a part of their growth plan. And 2 of them have secured Small Business Administration guaranteed small business loans. And we're very proud of that, and they're building right now. And then some of them were already successful, and we built a financial model to where they can just bootstrap it, continue to grow on their own. But the shortfall of the program has been that we've only been in Caddo Parish, and we'll talk more about the growth strategy. Now, when EAP got started back in 2014, we partnered with the IC² Institute in Austin, Texas, to basically be community focused and look at how do successful communities and regions band together to be a knowledge-based economy. We looked at Austin, Texas. We looked at Columbus, Ohio. We looked at Oklahoma City. We looked at Alexandria, Virginia. We looked at a lot of models around the company to say, hey, what worked there? What can we pull out of their models, kind of put a North Louisiana spin on it and say, hey, how do we have a network-focused, collaborative environment for economic growth? That's how we got to EAP, and that's what we formed. And we talked about the ones that actually got started were 78. And of those 78, what we saw was where you have someone to help you provide services, make sure your financial model is sound, boom, all of a sudden we saw $44 million in investment in high growth companies in 2.5 years. We were amazed. And that's when we started talking to Senator Cassidy and others to talk about, how do you expand this? How do you take what EAP does and expand it to the rest of Louisiana? And we'll get to that. But now I want to talk to you about a couple of success stories. One is Mr. Dexter Blanch from Highly Favored Creation, a pet product company. He had probably been in business struggling to gain traction with his pet product for probably 3 or 4 years. And Dexter is a hard-working, hard-charging gentleman, and you can see him right there in the picture. But he needed just a little bit of services, a little bit of refinement to figure out, hey, how do you take your product, market it nationally, and be successful? I'm happy to say that Dexter just got a purchase order for 4,000 units of his product, and he has successfully sold his product through the internet marketing campaign to over 75 countries. Dexter is international. And then on the hard science side, another example is Embera Neurotherapeutics, a Louisiana health science technology developed right here at LSU Shreveport, or LSU Health Science Center Shreveport, by one of their researchers who had a great idea for the repurposing of a drug that he needed help getting to market and getting to the National Institute of Health to compete for a major NIDA grant. And Senator Cassidy talked about that. Well, we're happy to say that he recently won an $11.1 million research grant where he is going to be able to further his research and get that product to market. And investors from North Louisiana. We haven't talked a lot about the investors here, but they're a key part of that. They leverage their resources to help these startup companies get the capital that they need to be successful. And that's a great example of that. Now, what impact did we have in that 2.5 years? 66 jobs in Caddo Parish, 10 jobs outside Caddo Parish. Those jobs are primarily national sales reps and technical jobs that we just didn't, it was technical fields we didn't have here in North Louisiana, but we had to have it. So we had to hire those people. And look at the average salary of those is about $55,000 for each of those employees, and having a $7 million impact in our local economy is really a strong story, and we're happy to say that story. So taking this, we looked at, hey, how do we go out and find a federal grant that we can get and expand this type of service across North Louisiana? So if you look at what we're trying to do here, and we're going to ask for your input in doing it, we'll talk a little bit about survey in a little bit, is expand what we're trying to do between 2017 and 2020 across North Louisiana. And we believe by expanding these services to those businesses that need our services, we can help foster economic growth, and we can focus more on economic growth across North Louisiana. That's going to have a real impact. So that's the EAP story. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Chris Fish, who's going to talk more about the EAP services and the impact that we can package. So Chris, if you would, sir, please take it away.
Thanks, Dave. And just to follow up on Dave's point related to this slide, what we've done is, Jess and I, we've identified some federal grants that we can go after to help expand to the other parishes within northern Louisiana. And we've identified a specific federal grant, which we'll get into with in a little bit, that has about $1.25 million, needs to be matched. And I would mention that our friends at BRF have agreed to provide matching funding for this endeavor. In terms of going after it, as Dave pointed out before, what we really need is company pull in terms of what are the services of our companies, our consortium of companies, what are the services that you need that EAP, the Entrepreneurial Accelerator Program, can actually provide to you. And we'll get into that as well with you. If we could go to the next slide. And we'll jump ahead to the next slide here as well. But just to walk you through, this grant that we're talking about. This is a federal government grant from the Department of Commerce, and it comes specifically from the Department of Commerce through the Economic Development Administration. And this is a program that has a number of different grants, and we're going to focus in on specifically one here, which is economic adjustment, the second bullet, and we're going to walk you through it. And just to give you a sense with where you guys are, our friends in the Economic Development Administration have a regional office for your region of the country down in Austin, Texas. And those are the folks that we'll be working with directly in terms of going after funding, in terms of supporting this. We can go to the next slide, please. Maybe just give you a little bit of a sense here in the next couple of slides, what are they looking for in terms of this grant from the federal government, this Economic Adjustment Assistance Grant Program. Kind of goes back to some of the points that Dave made earlier. You also heard from the Senator. They're really looking here for a public-private partnership. An example would be for workforce development in terms of, providing training, let's say through a nonprofit such as the Entrepreneurial Accelerator Program for specific companies in an area that needs assistance. And, the goal, again, being the creation of jobs, the retention of jobs, and private investment. And we've done some, homework. We've taken a look at your region of the state. And for economic development for this grant, you do fit the criteria. Not every part of the U.S. does, but it's really focused to help areas such as yours. So we think it's a good opportunity to go after. If we could go to the next slide, please. A couple points here, I think, just to make. The grant, just to walk you through it, this is a grant that only nonprofits or public institutions can go after. So economic development, nonprofit organizations, local or state government, university, they can go after this. For-profit companies, just to give you a sense, for-profit companies cannot go after this on their own. The reason is they really don't want to help one company. They want to put services in place to help many, many, many companies through one endeavor, which is what we're trying to do. I'd also mention, too, on this slide, the services we're talking about, just to maybe be clear, this is not something that's going to put cash, directly into your company. These federal grants will not transfer cash to your company directly. It will be the services that we'll get into you with a little bit in terms of what we can go after. The other point maybe just to make is, how does this all work? Just to give you a sense with this grant, we would do a lot of the work on this grant, with Dave and his folks. And I think we're really looking for data. You heard about this survey. We're looking for data from you all. But in terms of the application process, submitting it, this is something that we would do. And we'll walk you through this in a little bit. But just to give you a sense from start to finish, this could be done within a 6-month period in terms of submitting the grant and services being provided to your company. It could be done within about 6 months, which from a federal government standpoint is a pretty quick turnaround in terms of putting a new program in place. So maybe if we could go to the next slide. I think we talked a little bit about the input that we need from you. If we can jump ahead to the next slide. I think this slide really gives you a good sense of what we're going to be asking of you all to look at. We talked to you about the federal grant, this Economic Adjustment Assistance Program, EDA. If you look at the first row column, EDA requirements, what do you have to win this grant funding? You have to have an economic resiliency and prosperity plan. You have to have a plan that's going to create jobs, attract investment, and it's going to have regional innovation. And I think with what we've seen with Northern Louisiana, we meet that. And then underneath that, we listed out for you, the current activities that our friends, at EAP, the Entrepreneurial Accelerator Program, Dave and his folks, what do they actually provide now? Dave talked a little bit about this, but in terms of business model development, mentoring for entrepreneurs, internships for student entrepreneurs, business marketing assistance. We talked about, tech development in terms of laboratory. These are examples. The ask at the bottom here, this is what we're asking of you guys. And the questionnaire that we'll get into in a little bit, we'll really get into this in the sense that, what do you need? And what we're trying to do is see exactly, where you all have multiple needs. In business planning, job training, networking, technology development. What the federal government wants to do is to secure this funding, from this Economic Adjustment Assistance Program. Let's assume for a second there's 20 companies in northern Louisiana who all have a job training need, or who all have a business planning need, a networking need. They want to help many companies with one program. So what we're trying to do is categorize with you guys what all you need, and then show this to the government. And the more we can show how helping, support this program with federal grants is going to impact, many, many businesses, the more likely we're going to be successful. So the next slide will take you to, I'm going to introduce you to Jess here at McAllister and Quinn, and she's going to walk you through more of the concept, developing the concept that we're going to take to the federal government, to EDA, and walk through some of this questionnaire that we've been talking about.
Thank you, Chris. I can say that McAllister and Quinn is very excited to work with the Entrepreneurial Accelerator Program on this grant application because, as Senator Cassidy mentioned, it represents one of the most ready and promising federal opportunities to secure technical assistance, products, and programming for small and startup businesses that is available anywhere. However, in order to be successful and to be competitive for these funds, we have to build a proposal to the Economic Development Agency that's built around the real and current needs of companies in Louisiana. And so for that, we have to have a consortium of companies that help develop and drive the concept. So next slide, please. Let's just take a look at the steps that we need to undertake with your help in order to successfully compete for the Economic Adjustment Program. This outlines several milestones that we are going to undertake, as Chris said, in the next 6 months or so. The very first step and the most critical step that we're talking about today is to begin with a needs assessment. We will be building a consortium of companies that are going to serve as informants to this concept, to help us understand what your needs and capacities are and what it is that you need in order to be successful in your goals and ventures. That's going to take place during this month of November, and we'll talk about that a little bit in the next slide. Second, we'll analyze what your data is based on what needs you identify and bundle those needs to develop a concept or an ask that we will present to the Economic Development Agency. That preliminary concept will be presented to the EDA around February of 2017 for their initial feedback. And from that, we will submit a pre-application. EDA will give us feedback on that pre-application, and in step 4, we will submit a final application to EDA around April of 2017. And EDA is one of the most helpful agencies that there are. So we're hoping that we will craft a proposal that really speaks to your needs, as well as making sure that those needs are well aligned with EDA's expectations. Finally, in around June of 2017, EDA will respond to our application within 60 days. We should hear back from them on their funding decision, and from that, we will be able to develop those needs, and responses to those needs will come back to you in the form of products and services. Next slide, please. So going back to step 1, the needs assessment, we need to figure out what products and services your business needs in order to be successful. And for that, we need your counsel and your participation in the form of a company consortium. We are asking that you participate in a company consortium profile survey, which is an online survey. You'll receive a link to the survey at the end of the webinar. And it collects three major pieces of data. First, what's the principal industry of your organization and a profile of your organization? Second, what markets do you target? And third, what professional services or technology services resources do you currently need, and rank order in terms of importance. Again, we'll send you a link to this survey at the conclusion of the webinar, and we ask that you return it by November 18th. The survey takes approximately 15 to 20 minutes to complete. And circling back to Senator Cassidy's opening remarks, as well as Dave and Chris's remarks, this grant is not just about Caddo Parish anymore. This is really about servicing a much broader range, geographic range and programmatic range. So the impacts will be great, we anticipate. We hope to broaden programming in order to serve more companies throughout Louisiana. We hope that through this activity with the Economic Development Agency, we can ensure that EAP services better fit the needs of entrepreneurs in Louisiana. We hope that this grant money will allow the Entrepreneurial Accelerator Program to be a voice for business concerns in the policy arena. And finally, we hope to make a positive contribution to economic development locally, regionally, statewide, and nationally. And that is my contribution to this presentation. I'll turn it back over to Dave.
Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So if you haven't already gotten, you will be getting an email shortly with a link to the survey. We'd ask, like Jessica said, probably take you about 15 minutes in those key business areas to go ahead and complete that survey, get it back to us. Because like when we formed EAP, you know, we went out and looked at all the successful accelerators that had economic development. What we really want to do here is get your input, and what we go forward with to EDA is really driven by your needs. So that, and I think that will resonate well with them, and they'll be willing to fund a grant like that because they'll get what they want in economic development. And you get the services, and we get some federal dollars coming in to help businesses in North Louisiana. So with that, I appreciate everybody participating today. Chris, Jessica, I appreciate y'all coming in. I do have two questions that have been submitted through the web. And the first one is this only for startups or for small businesses already in business? So let me answer that by, we are best at working with startup companies, but if you're a small company with 1 to 5 employees and you have a growth strategy and you need help formulating that, we are more than happy to include small businesses in this effort. We'd ask you to participate. We've done it with several in the past. So yes, small businesses can compete and be part of this activity. Another question, a great question, I appreciate it, is how do I start working with the EAP? On there, you saw the EAP website. It's eapla.com. You can go there and you can fill out a form, and I'll get it. All the analysts here in EAP will get it. And if you're in our geographic footprint, we're happy to start working with you. If you're not, then we'll figure out a way. Going forward after we get this this grant, we'll definitely be able to work with you from that standpoint. But you can either email us at that email address or hit us on the web, and we'll be happy to talk to you. And if we can't help you, there's a lot of companies that come to us that aren't quite ready for an accelerator, but they need to be in an incubator. and we know all the incubators and all of the organizations in the state. We'll be happy to refer you to them. The last one would be, will you work with any company from any industry or business as long as it's a small business? Yes, that's one of the unique aspects of EAP, and that is all industries, all verticals. We don't have any limitation on who we can help. You know, and it's really fun for us because one day you're working with a guy like Dexter who's got a product, a pet product in the pet industry, and the next day you're trying to figure out how do I get a clinical done on a new drug that was developed at LSU Health Science Center. So we're open to anything that you guys want to start. You know, happy to help. And that's our 3 questions that we got. Oh, wait, somebody else is hitting the question. How are we doing on time, gang? Yeah, any more questions from the audience on that? You can submit them right now. And I'll open it up to Chris and Jessica if you have any closing comments you want to make.
No, this is Chris. I think, Dave, you covered it, and we look forward to working with you and building out this consortium.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. We just got another question coming in. Oh, yes. Will the webinar be available for review? Yes, it will. We're going to put the webinar on the EAP homepage, and you'll be able to, we'll have the link on there probably today. Okay, yeah, the technical side is looking at me and going, no problem. All right, I love it when the technical side goes, has it already figured out. So yeah, we'll have it up, available along with, if you didn't get your email, check your spam folder. We'll also put that link up. Yeah, a link to that so that you can get to the survey as well. If there aren't any more questions, we're right on time, and I appreciate everybody. Thank you very much. And everybody have a great day. And we'll keep you posted on the grant application.